The officiating in the 2026 playoffs feels miserable. Endless whistles, free throw contests, games that grind to a halt every 30 seconds. Everybody feels it. But here's the twist nobody's telling you. The refs are not actually calling way more fouls than usual. The whistle barely moved. So why does it feel so much worse? There's a real reason. It's hiding in the numbers, and it's not what you think. Start with what everyone assumes. The story you've heard 100 times is that the refs have taken over, that fouls have exploded, that they're calling double what they used to. It feels obviously true. So let's test that assumption first, because the entire mystery falls apart the second you look at the actual count. This is Game is Culture. Real quick before we dig in, if you like breakdowns that actually show the math instead of just yelling takes at you, go hit subscribe. It's free and it genuinely helps, so click it. First, kill the myth. Free throw attempts per team per game. This regular season, 23.4. Last year's playoffs, 22.9. These playoffs, 24.4. That's the highest of the three, yes, but it's a jump of about 1.5 free throws compared to last June. 1.5. That is not an explosion. That is not the refs doubling the whistle. So the rage cannot be about raw volume, because the raw volume barely changed. So that's the puzzle, a tiny 1.5 free throw bump, and yet it feels like the worst officiated postseason in years. Something else is going on, and when you dig in, there are 3 real reasons the refs feel so much worse, none of which is just more fouls. Let me walk you through all 3. Real reason number 1. For decades, the playoffs meant one thing about officiating. They let them play. The whistle goes away, the game gets physical, fewer fouls than the regular season, not more. That's the unwritten contract every fan grew up on. This year, the league broke it. The postseason whistle went up, not down. More free throws than the regular season, more than last year's playoffs. Your brain is screaming because the thing that's supposed to get quieter in May got louder. Put it on the dial, 24.4 free throws a team, the busiest of the 3 buckets, the regular season included. The needle is pointing the wrong way for a playoff run. It's not a huge number in a vacuum, it's huge in context because it violates the one expectation everyone holds about postseason basketball. Look at it head-to-head against last postseason, 24.4 to 22.9. Combined, almost 49 free throws a game to about 46. And the real tell is that last bottom line. Last year, the playoff whistle dipped below the regular season, just like tradition says. This year, it climbed above it. The whistle didn't just rise, it reversed direction. Real reason number 2, and this is the big one. Here's the mechanism that makes a tiny number feel enormous. Every single whistle is a dead ball. The game stops, the crowd sits down, the rhythm dies, both teams walk to the line, and the flow you tuned in for evaporates. So even 1.5 extra fouls a game doesn't add 1.5 units of annoyance. It multiplies because each one chops the game into pieces. Basketball is a rhythm sport, and stoppages are the one thing that kills rhythm. Now stack the replay reviews on top. In crunch time, the refs huddle around a monitor for 2 full minutes to decide whether a toe was on a line or whose fingertip touched it last. The most important moments of the most important games are the ones that freeze the longest. So the playoffs feel worse precisely when they should feel best, in the 4th quarter, when every whistle becomes a committee meeting. And there's a psychological trap baked into this. Once you've decided the refs are bad, every whistle becomes evidence. You stop noticing the clean no calls and you start collecting the bad ones. So a postseason that's only slightly more whistled than usual gets remembered as a disaster because outrage is sticky and a smooth possession is forgettable. The feeling feeds itself, one dead ball at a time. Real reason number 3. The whistle didn't rise evenly, it piled up on the heavyweights. Denver, 30 free throws a game. Orlando, 28. Cleveland, almost 28. And both finalists are right up there. San Antonio at 26, New York at 25. Both above the playoff average. The deeper a team goes, the more it lives at the line. So the marquee games, the ones the most people watch, are the exact games drowning in whistles. And the contender jump is stark. The Knicks shot 21 free throws a game in the regular season. In the playoffs, 25, an 18% spike. Cleveland jumped 16%, Denver 17. So when your team's biggest series of the year feels like a foul shooting contest, that's not your imagination. The teams you're emotionally invested in are the ones whose whistle count climbed the most. And the flip side proves the point. The whistle did not rise everywhere. Phoenix shot under 20 free throws a game. Boston, barely 20. Plenty of series were called tight and clean and nobody said a word. But those quiet games don't trend. The concentrated foul fests do. So the postseason gets branded by its loudest few series, while the calm ones vanish from the conversation entirely. And then the games that seared it into everyone's memory. Cleveland shot 44 free throws in one playoff game against Detroit. 44, almost double a normal team's night. That whole series was a parade to the line. You don't remember the average game, you remember that one. A few unforgettable foul fests do more to shape the narrative than 50 normal games ever could. And one honest note that ties it together. The loudest complaints aren't even about the count, they're about the type. The ticky-tack freedom of movement call, the marginal forearm that sends a star to the line, the shooter hunting contact instead of a shot. The numbers prove the whistle is up and pointed the wrong way. They can't grade whether each call was correct. That's a film and last 2-minute report conversation, and it's a fair one. So here's the gap that explains everything. Slide between how bad it feels and how much actually changed. The feeling is way out at ruined. The actual change is a modest 1.5 free throw bump. That distance between the outrage and the data is the whole story. The perception is real. It's just running miles ahead of the number underneath it. So here's the real answer. The refs feel so much worse in the 2026 playoffs, but not because they're calling a flood of new fouls. The whistle rose only slightly. It feels catastrophic for 3 reasons working together. It went up when the playoffs are supposed to go quiet, so it violates everything we expect. Every extra call is a dead ball that murders the flow, and replay freezes the biggest moments. And it landed hardest on the contenders and the marquee games we actually watch. A small, real change, amplified by expectation, by stoppages, and by spotlight. That's the whole trick. Your eyes aren't lying. They're just exaggerating a real, modest shift. And the fix is almost insultingly simple. Swallow the marginal whistle late. Stop rewarding the hunt for contact. Trust the players to decide the game in the final minutes. The league doesn't need a rule change. It needs a little restraint when it matters most. Do that, and the same 1.5 free throw bump goes right back to being a footnote instead of the main character of June. So that's the real reason, a modest change that feels enormous because of when it happens, what it did to the flow, and which games it hit. Now I want yours. Which of the 3 reasons rings most true to you, and what's the single worst call you've seen this postseason? Tell me down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. We're in a race to 1,000 subscribers, so please, join the family.